Wow. Welcome to Target, the show for masculinity and success. And I'm your host, Aultman, former military commander turned best-selling author, now bringing you a podcast that you can use. We're sharing stories from highly successful men so that you can figure it out for yourself. Welcome. This is Targeted. All right, welcome back to Targeted. Today in the studio, I have a very big name. You've probably seen him. If you're a part of my community already, you probably have seen me push a couple of his things out. It's Jack Donovan. The biggest thing that I've pushed out is Way of Man, because I know a lot of us have read his book, and a lot of it still applies today. But he's written a whole lot of other books, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to go into a lot more of the things he's been working on because he is a public figure. So I would like to just take the platform, give it to Jack right now. Jack, would you like to introduce yourself?
Wow, that's a lot. Well, my name is Jack Donovan. Obviously, I'm most well known for writing a book called The Way of Men. And I've written several books, like you said, after that. I write mostly about myth and philosophy at this point, but from a very accessible point of view. I have a good buddy who writes from a more technical point of view with the jargon, and I kind of do the dumb bro version of everything that he says, you know. So that's mainly the stuff that I like to write and talk about right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a younger audience that is being introduced to this for the first time, and your new videos, a lot of them are pulling them into the community, and then they're starting to look at that big book that you had, right. Which is now 2012, right? This is 2013. It's over a decade old, but still, It's still great information. And I know you've given a lot of shows, a lot of this. So can you give us the 2-minute version of like the attributes that you put in there, tactical attributes? And then I'm going to ask you about the bonobo and where, can you give us like just a quick overview so that people are now teased and want to read the book?
Well, you should definitely read the book. I think it's the best, if I may say so myself, I think it's the best conceptual introduction to the subject of masculinity. When most people write about masculinity or they talk about it, they're advertising. Mm-hmm. They're like, I am the alpha, be like me. Or they're like, like follow this religion or follow this or whatever. I want you to be a man this way. Mm-hmm. And the Way of Men is really about, well, what is masculine? What are we even talking about? And what do we see in a room when we look at men? And we can kind of size them up and we rate them on a scale that isn't really, it's just there. Yeah. We're aware of it. What are we looking at? Mm. And so my answer to that, and I spent years trying to answer what the question, what is masculinity? And my answer to that is basically we're judging each other by the way that we would have judged each other in a primal survival scenario. Yeah. Like I used to say when it was popular for zombies to be coming in the room, like in TV and everything, if zombies attacked right now, you'd look around the room and like, you'd size men up in a very different way very quickly. Yeah. What would they be willing to do? Who are the guys? Yeah. And what are their skill sets? All that kind of thing. And that's the way that men have always looked at each other, because we operated in what I call, hunting and fighting gangs for most of human history. And, even before we had big towns and civilizations, I mean, most of our human evolutionary history has been men in small fighting gangs working together. And anyone who's been in the military or so forth knows that, what do you do when you go to a new space? Well, you set up a perimeter. And that perimeter becomes your orientation. And you have the perimeter is like the area that you have control over. And beyond that, it's kind of a chaotic world that you don't have control over. Mm. And so I think the way men judge each other is like on this role of protecting and potentially expanding the perimeter. And so what are they looking at? I started writing about masculinity because there were a lot of gender studies and so forth people that I saw before maybe other people saw them. I mean, I went to art school in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So that was there then, but a lot of the people didn't hear about this until maybe 2015, 2018. But I saw it coming. And they were basically saying masculinity doesn't exist. Mm. It's just this made up thing. It's just culturally constructed, whatever. And I was like, well, I don't really think that's true.
Right.
And they said that, masculinity changes so much from culture to culture that it can't be real, right? And that was their thesis. There are people who wrote books called masculinities because there's so many of them. But if you think about it, and my criteria for figuring out what the tactical virtues were for masculinity was what would be true for the majority of men always and everywhere, no matter what religion they have, what part of the world they're from, what race they are, what would always be true? Well, at what point has any man ever said, the most masculine man in the room is actually the weakest?
Never.
That's always and everywhere. That's no culture, mainstream culture has ever said that. Obviously, being stronger is better, and that's tied to our biology, so it makes sense, right? Yeah. And then same thing. At what point have people ever said, that man over in the corner over there who's scared of everything? He's clearly the most masculine man in the room.
Right.
Nobody. Yeah, and so it's very clear and it's very consistent. And like I said, it goes back to, I think, how we've lived as humans for most of our evolutionary history. Right. And you can see in animals too. I mean, animals have the same traits, like who's the dog that's going to bite, Yeah. So all that stuff is there. So it's strength, courage, mastery, and honor are the tactical virtues. And mastery, I always say, women can get along with kind of flipping their hair and being cute. Men really can't do that.
No.
We expect you to be good at something. So mastery is kind of a word that I use for competency. And depending on what, if the zombies are coming or whatever, you need different competencies. You may find, that's why I always kind of joke about the alpha thing and whatever. It's like, well, what do the guys in that room need? Because you may not have any of the skills that they need. Now it's like war is fought by drone operators. You need video game players. Right. There's a lot of different things that men need from each other. So they'll look to the guy who has the appropriate skills. So that's mastery. I think men appreciate mastery in all things. And so, and then the fourth one is honor. And that's basically if you don't care about the way the other men in your honor group see you. Now, you can't care about all the men in the world, which we have to when we look at the internet, which gets very insane because all these people are judging me. But the men who you respect, the men who you really care about, what do they think of you? And if you don't care, if you say that you don't care what they think about you or that any men think about you,
it's a lie.
They can't trust you. It's a lie. And also they can't trust you because you're saying, I don't value your opinion.
Yeah.
And so they can't trust that in an emergency, you will take the situation seriously because you're just going to do your own thing, whatever, So I think those are really good starting virtues. And I think a lot of people have responded to them over the years. And beyond that, before we get into whatever else we're going to talk about,
right.
So I'm doing my spiel.
Yeah.
But one of the main things that the big takeaway from the Way of Men that people come back to over and over again, I hear people say it and not even reference me now, but it's there's a difference between being a good man and being good at being a man.
Yeah.
And I had to do that in order to separate masculinity and morality because you can have masculinity in any culture. Mm-hmm. They all have different moralities. And so what are we talking about? I have to separate the two. And being a good man is being good at these tactical virtues and these things that all men everywhere can relate to each other. You can have two guys of totally different religions, totally different races too, but they can say, go and do MMA together.
Yeah.
And they understand each other in a particular way. Mm-hmm. And that's being good at being a man. But, being a good man is a different thing, and that can be very cultural. And, it depends on who you're talking to. And, it's what is good for one team is not good for the other team. It's funny to me, you watch sports teams and so, but they demonize, it's literally just another company, but you demonize the sports, they're bad guys,
There has to be an association with them being bad.
Exactly. So you really have to separate those two things to talk about masculinity. So that's, I think, an important takeaway from the Way of Men that people keep bringing up over and over again over the years that, I think is important.
What's not getting enough play is the way you separated feminine and masculine using nature. So the bonobo example, I've never seen anyone repeat that, but that is so clearly obvious, where our society is going that, and I'm not, this is not truth or false. This is totally true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the word masculinity gets me banned on Google searches multiple times because I use it. Because what am I talking to? I'm talking to men. Right. And only men can be men. Right. And only, I was thinking about this example on the way in. So I was in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. We were getting attacked by, it was AQA, so Al-Qaeda, not the Taliban. Because Trump was like, thou shalt not attack. Right. And so there's still other terrorists over there that were trying to kill us. And we got some intel reports that we were going to get attacked. And so I took my guys and I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. If this happens, this is probably the perimeter wall where they're going to enter because they've entered here before. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time they've ever had somebody walk them through as a leader. When I got back, my senior enlisted advisor, female. Mm-hmm. Don't know how she got there. Great at what she does. Mm-hmm. But she's like, hey, we should probably let other men take care of that. There are men that guard the perimeter. I'm like, when those men die, I will not die. Right. But it was a female that was speaking to a male environment. Mm-hmm. And that I see that happen in our culture a lot where females are trying to put labels on us or tell us to stop doing things that are purely masculine. Right. And I get that out of your example, the bonobos. I never heard about the bonobos in or Congo or any of this whole societal study that happened. Can you go into that a little bit? Yeah. Well, I read this book and it was great. I think it's called Demonic Males or something like that. The great thing about it is written by really liberal guys who came to a conclusion that they didn't like, but they came to it anyway, which is the best kind of book. I love that. Because it means that they actually had to think and that they found reality in a place they didn't want it. But one of the main examples that they used were chimps and bonobos and the basic idea of it. And you could get into all kinds of zoology about this, how much this is true or not. But the idea is that chimps operate in the way that human male patriarchal groups have operated throughout history. They are hunting parties. Basically, the men go out and hunt together. It's a father-son relationship. All the fathers and sons, and they have sex to mate and things like that. And the women are off on their own thing. And the bonobos, they're kind of a matriarchal society. They kind of no one really knows who their father is. They're all having sex with each other all the time. Why do I remember this? I think the lesbian chimp sex bonobo sex is called hoka hoka or something like that. Yeah. But it's just kind of a free for all of sexuality and so forth. And so the differences theoretically between these two groups were about resource scarcity. Mm-hmm. And basically, like, the bonobos had everything that they could possibly ever want. And so they had no hierarchies. The kids didn't know who their dads were. They didn't really have to hunt or really work for anything. Right. And then, but the chimps had competitors. And so they had to operate at a higher level. And so they had their society organized in a particular way. And obviously the reason that I talked about is that's a great metaphor for the way we live in a world of plenty. Yes. Where people really don't have to do anything. And men, you don't have to be masculine to exist in the world right now. I mean, you can get through life and just do whatever. You're probably going to be taken care of. You're probably going to be okay. Yeah. It's really a choice at this point. And, there are the guys who are going to say it could fall apart at any time, and maybe it could. There is some truth to that. Yeah. But also, I think when you talk about the women who don't want men to be men, they say that masculinity is, outmoded, like it's out of fashion or something like that. And they want you to stop being a man so that they can live their best lives, basically. Correct. But what is our best life? Is basically like what it comes down to. It's like, well, what makes men not feel the best? Because that feels like it's just about feelings and it's hedonistic. Right. But what makes men feel the most fulfilled? What makes them the best versions of themselves? And really,
there are certain things that you have to have in your life, I think, as a man to do that and to bring out the better version of yourself. Like I always use the example of myself, like probably until I was late 30s, I'm generally known by certain people as being a pretty strong guy. Mm-hmm. And that was not part of my identity until I was probably in my late 30s.
Okay. So were you weak before then? Like
I probably was genetically okay. But I didn't pursue that.
But you decided to change.
Yeah. I was like, well, I started writing and thinking about masculinity, and there are a lot of people who just think about it on this very high level, and they don't do anything. Mm-hmm. I like to think I'm kind of an anti-Jordan Peterson in the sense that I actually try and do this stuff as much as possible. I'm not going to be a UFC fighter or anything. I started this stuff when I was like 40. Yeah. But I do try to do some of the things that I talk about. And doing those things changes you. It changes who you are and how people relate to you. It's like, well, when I was at my strongest, probably like 10 years ago, people walk up to you, oh, you're a really big guy, and they interact with you differently, and the world bends for you in a different way.
Well, you carry yourself differently too.
Absolutely.
When you have a different confidence and the knowledge and all the tactical attributes that you place in your book are solid. Yeah. You've probably come up with a couple. Well, I know you have because I've read a couple more of your books. Mm-hmm. But the way you just described that, I think is the book that comes after The Way of Man, Becoming a Barbarian, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're like, it's an option. You don't have to be masculine because the world doesn't care. Yeah. And in fact, they would rather you not be masculine because then you're easier to control.
Yeah, that is absolutely the preference. So it is a choice. You do have to pursue it. But as I said, when you do pursue that, it brings out a better version of who you are, and you kind of realize some potential that you didn't know was there. Like I said, I wouldn't have thought that I was a strong guy. Now people kind of think of me as a strong guy, and that's now part of my identity. That's
now you.
And then and the same thing. Any guys who, I've done bits and pieces of many of the man things, and then that's like I like grappling. That's my thing. That's what I really enjoy. I've done the gun thing too. Yep. That's not as much my thing. But everybody has their kind of niche that they fall into, and you can only do so many man hobbies at once because they're all very expensive.
Yes, but it's so true.
It really is. Yeah. But so you kind of have to pick your man hobby that you want to do, and find the things that you're best at, and just go with. But when you try all those things and you get to there's that threshold, which is really cool to see anyone that you're coaching or dealing with for the first time. That threshold of like somebody realizing not only that they could do it because they're scared and they're kind of just trying to do it, but when they get to the threshold, it's like, maybe I could be good at this, is a really cool and fulfilling place to like, there's a crossover line between like, I'm just doing this because I think I should do it or whatever, to like, okay, let's go. It's a really cool thing to see as a man, and to see other men experience that, I think is really fulfilling.
I'm going to take you one step because we've grappled before. Yeah. We've done jiu-jitsu together. We train at the same gyms sometimes. And you've stopped me a couple times because of your mastery. And you said, hey, if you did this different, it would work better. And that, to me, displays strength, honor, and mastery. And I think the only way you can do that is by doing masculine things. Yeah. And, there are women on the mats in jiu-jitsu, and I think women should definitely look at jiu-jitsu, but men need to freaking learn submission grappling.
It's so good for men. I'll probably do a video essay for my YouTube at some point about this myself.
Please.
But it's so good for men because, I think if you're a young man, I think if you're like 20s, early 30s, you should definitely do a lot of striking and sparring. You should know what that feels like. You should know what it feels like to get punched in the face.
Always.
I've done a patch of that myself. I'm 50 now. Like there's only so much more head trauma I really need to have. And also you don't get any faster. No. So you're just going to get hit in the head more, So it's still good to do. I would still love to do some pad work or something, every once in a while. But I think that you should definitely do that as younger men. But one of the reasons I eventually stopped doing that and got more into grappling was because you can do that for a very long time. And it is so good. And there is less trauma. People get injured and stuff all the time, but it's not quite as it's a lot friendlier. Because grappling can get turned up. I mean, striking can get turned up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because it gets very aggressive very quickly.
Yeah.
And you have to really be around people who know how to control that. But with jiu-jitsu, with grappling, all that, you have guys just trying to figure stuff out, and they're low key trying to kill each other, but also they're laughing, and they're having a good time.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really positive. But it's really, really good for men to have that moment a few times a week where you're in a really bad position and you kind of want to give up, but you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
To have that go through your head and be actually in that position a few times a week, I think is really, really healthy. And it's a very not dangerous way to do it.
Yeah.
And so you get to have that experience and have that mindset. And that's really important for men. And, you see all these men, and everybody makes fun of them, the guys who think that they could like fight if something happened, but they've only ever watched movies.
Yeah. They see red.
Yeah. They say exactly. That's the joke. And, but if you actually had that experience a few times a week, in a kind of safe environment, I think you're going to be a lot better able to handle that situation. Who knows what happens when real things go down, but I think you're going to be a lot more comfortable in that situation than someone who's never experienced what that feels like.
Let me ask you this, because jiu-jitsu has become something that like Mark Zuckerberg does. I mean, it's like it's become commercialized now, where you can buy your black belt. I said it. You can buy your black belt in a couple of years. How do you think that's going to change this? Because I like the science behind what you just said is every time you do something you shouldn't be doing, and you push yourself a little bit further, it grows your brain. It grows your brain and it makes you a stronger human. Yeah. But that's what you need to be as a man. You need to be the stronger human. Yeah. So do you think this is watering like all this, I'll call it hookah, hookah. I mean, honestly, these scrawny men, they're like, wait a minute, I need to be more manly because, and I'll say it, this is not political, but because Trump got elected and now we have a different society. Yeah. And that society requires you to be masculine. Yeah. And that's okay.
That's great. I mean, like there's this weird thing that's happened in the world where I spent 10 years writing about all the things that were bad and what I wanted to happen. And now they're kind of all happening. Yeah. And so it's almost like sometimes I don't know what to say. I'm like, well, that's what I asked for, So I think that's great. Yeah. As far as things getting watered down, I think that is inevitable. Anytime you have something get, like it's almost a hipster thing, like every time everybody likes it, then it becomes like watered down. And obviously there's commercial interest. There's people trying to make money. People have to keep their gyms open. They have to keep people coming back. Yeah. I do like the idea of some kind of ranking system because, Boy Scouts love merit badges. Right. You need a carrot. You can't, there are guys who are like, it should only be about competition and who's the best. Well, that's a very small group and you need all these other guys to have something to shoot for. Mm-hmm. The tricky thing is then when those things get compared, because okay, I'm a purple belt. Yeah. My purple belt compared to like some dude competing at Worlds as a purple belt is we're at a different level. Yeah. And so how do you find what's real there and keep it and keep some integrity with that? Mm-hmm. And that's something I've been talking a lot to my friends about, and it's just one of those things that it's going to be tricky. And also because I think a lot of things are moving to no gi. Yeah. And then you don't. There's really no reason to have a belt no gi. So what do you do with that? And I do still think you need a carrot, but how much are these things going to mean in 10 years? I don't know.
Yeah, for people who aren't in this world, no gi means that's not the pajamas that you wear, like your karate pajamas. That's a gi. Yeah. No gi is more what will happen on the street. It's going to be something that's more realistic, but also it's going to test you in a different way, and that's good. But I like that belt system. I know Meridote Master Ken would hate me for that. Don't hate me, Ken, by the way, because he's promoted the show. Yeah. But he's like, how would you know who's better if you don't have a belt system? Well, even the belt system doesn't tell you that. It's for you. It's your journey.
Yeah. I like to think of it personally as, the way I look at it at this point is that I hope that it represents that I could go in to a gym anywhere in the world and people would think I was competent at that level.
Yeah.
You know, like that seemed that I was reasonable with guys my size, age, and, you know, like at belt level, like that I would be reasonably competent. Yeah. And that's what I want it to mean.
Yeah.
You know, like there you get into places where maybe it becomes a little bit of a participation trophy and things like that. But it's and that gets weird. But you know, that's what you want it to mean is like, oh, I can go play this game at this level anywhere in the world.
Well, so I like jujitsu for the belt system. They teach you different things at different belts. Like your purple belt, what are you working on? Back? You're working on like how to work off your back, and that's not
no. Like I never work off my back.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
So like whenever you hit to the next level, you're going to work off of your back. And that's the next thing you unlock because you have all these other things mastered. And now you're like, okay, well, I don't feel comfortable on my back. Well, you're about to.
Right.
When you hit the next belt level, the brown belt's probably all about back. But they focus on specific fundamentals.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry. I think I'm taking this off into jiu-jitsu.
No. I mean, that's what always happens with jiu-jitsu is that I think it becomes, I mean, you know, like I'm just having my stupid purple belt thoughts about, not black belt thoughts. But, you know, like, I think it's changed so much. There are books of curriculums like the Gracie stuff, like this is what blue belt should learn and this is what purple belt should learn, whatever. But then I think the sport like rapidly changes and trends so much about what people are into and what are they doing that like, you know, a lot of people like in no-gi, people don't play off their back anymore. Like very, very much, you don't have people who just hang out and guard that long, especially, and that's one of the things I like Guardians. About the gym that we both go to, Ethos, is that it's more MMA focused. Yeah. And so like, you know, that you can actually do that, you know? So that's, I try to look at things that way. Like what position do I actually want to be in? I don't want to learn something that's, I always say like, I don't want I don't have this amazing guard pull be my biggest move that I go to if I'm in a panic. Like if something happens in real life, I do this amazing guard pull and like break my back on cement. You know, like I don't want it to have that be my top stuff. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's good for the game of the sport or whatever, but like I just try to avoid really dialing in things that are like probably bad habits. Yeah. You know, it's like I want to probably stay on top, you know, most of the time or get to on top. Yeah. You know, like, so, I mean, I think it changes a lot. And there's just, like I said, the sport's changing constantly too. So,
but it just opens up a different world.
Yeah.
So, and what I've noticed through your past is you've gone through a bunch of different worlds. I mean, you just came back from an overseas trip last week.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically.
And I love what you said. You said, I'd rather shoot a documentary than be a tourist. Yeah. I'm like, dude, that hits deep.
Yeah.
That is all me all the time. I'm like, let me learn about whatever happened here.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through like that journey, like your different worlds and how you're exploring different things and that created, can you walk me through or walk us through?
The last like 15 years? Yeah.
Yeah, do it in the next
10 minutes. Yeah. Like I said, I feel like I'm proud that I tried to live some of the things that I did. Like you can't, I'm not going to live in the old West, right? But like I've tried to go and see, well, what is this? Mm-hmm. You know, like, oh, quit your job, get a job delivering exercise equipment. Oh, okay. Like, you know, then, you know, after With the Way of Men, there was a period which is kind of crystallized and become a barbarian. I'm like, well, who is my tribe? And at that point, I also became very well known in the manosphere when it was a thing. Now they're talking about the media, but it really isn't a thing anymore.
No, it isn't.
And which is kind of a shame because it was very cooperative and it was kind of more positive than what they talk about now. But
every time I get pulled into the news, they're like, don't talk about that. The only reason why you're here is because you worked at the White House.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the whatever manosphere, I spoke at some manosphere events and so forth. And so I have a pretty good, I feel like I'm the third-eyed raven with the manosphere. Like I know their history at this point. I was around at the beginning. And obviously I was also kind of involved in the alt-right at that point because there was a big question of like, well, they were the people who liked my books because no one else wanted to talk about masculinity in like 2012.
Fair.
They're like, it wasn't I think until a lot of guys came back from war that they like looked at their society and were like, what is going on?
No, it's different. It changes you.
Yeah. And so, and also I think they had certain expectations about what America was and they came back and it wasn't that. And so I think there was a reaction to that. And so a lot of people, then all of a sudden your jockos got into the game of talking about masculinity.
I mean, honestly, right now there's a lot of social media defaming of people who became very big in that time.
For sure.
Like I'm not going to name any of those names because I still talk to some of them.
Yeah.
But like they're dragging special operations through the mud with some of the things that they said.
Yeah.
And they were just trying to make it to where they were going to create a future that they wanted.
Yeah.
And that future looks like a bunch of barbarians that were ready to go.
Yeah.
And have they done it? A little bit, probably.
Yeah.
But now, is it being defamed? I don't know. And it's an interesting journey because you're in that space for a moment. And then you start looking around and you're like, I can do better. And I can go somewhere else and learn something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
No, that's okay.
So yeah, but the alt-right was, I mean, I wasn't alt-right, but I loved your books.
Yeah.
And I was a GWAT guy.
Yeah. That was a lot of my audience at that point, really. Yeah. But I mean, the alt-right at that point was like we don't have to get too deep into what it was and then what it became, because the media kind of framed it into its own thing, and then it became that thing.
Yeah.
But when I first got asked, because I wrote for AlternativeRight.com when it was launched, and so like when Richard Spencer came to me and asked me to write that, what it was at that point were people who were just annoyed by kind of basic Republicans. Who like wouldn't talk about certain things, and that like their idea of talking about masculinity and things was just like shut up and get married and go to church, and like they weren't really addressing the problems that were going on in the world.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of people from very different camps. You had like Catholics and pagans and all these different people kind of criticizing these ideas from different angles, kind of basic, republicanism.
Yeah.
What is now probably actually considered rhinos. But that was the mainstream at that point.
Yeah. And
so it was a lot of people criticizing that from all kinds of different angles. And so they brought me in to talk about masculinity because that was what I was doing at that point. I was a weird figure to be doing that. And so, I wrote about that for them for a while, and I spoke at some conferences and did some things and went overseas and spoke to the European New Right and things like that. And, obviously learned a lot about that whole world.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. I mean, now it's like, I see stuff going on and I'm just like, I'm like curmudgeonly old man. I'm like, you kids don't know what you're talking about yet. And you're like, oh, you found out about black crime. I remember my first beer. It's just now I look at like X or something like that. I'm just like, it's easy. I've been in the weeds with that kind of stuff, and I see all the rabbit holes that they've gone down to. Like there's another thing, like now, like everybody is against the Jews now, and I'm like, I've been in that room. Yeah. I've with the guys who talk about nothing but that.
Yeah.
And you get into, and so I've been able to see, okay, well, what's part of this is true, what part of this is not true, and kind of come to my own conclusion about a lot of these things. And unfortunately, the problem with being reasonable and talking sense is that no one wants to hear it.
Nobody wants it.
No, they want to hear the crazy shit. They want they want to hear the Alex Jones version of it.
Whatever you want to believe in, that's what they. Whatever they want to believe in, that's what they want you.
Yeah,
to tell
and they want you to go hard with it. And I'm like, I think the older you get too, you get a little bit more like, well, I've seen that go two ways.
Yeah.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes
it's going to be extreme either way.
There's just a lot of, sometimes things work a certain way and sometimes they don't. Everything is not as certain as it is when you're 25.
Yeah.
And so
because you know everything.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's like, I've seen a lot of things work out and not work out. And I've seen things go through cycles and patterns a lot more times. That's the one thing you get as I think you get older is that you see a lot of, oh, I remember the last time we did this, and you start to get a little bit like numb to that, and less impressed by things, I think, as things goes on. But so, obviously I went through that whole world and that was interesting. Obviously that was probably peak cancel culture. I mean, now I feel like very safe. I mean, I felt like my books are going to get pulled from Amazon at any point. I had the New York magazines writing about me and shit. I've been pulled out of line in customs. I was on some lists, for talking about masculinity, for talking about all these things. I mean, now, like I said, it was cool when Trump came in. I was like, I feel like I'm not an enemy of the state for the first time in a really long time. That's cool. I'm into it.
Yeah. And I mean, yes. that has to be a different and unique feeling because being targeted, not playing off the word of the podcast, but the reason why I picked the word targeted for the show was because men need to be on a target. They need to be on one target at a time. And you can't experience the world and be targeted. That's not something you can do because you get all these outside influences that don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And they come into the same room and they all want to talk.
Yeah.
And they all don't know where they're going. No one's leading it there. And you're responsible for what you did. That's why I found your journey so interesting. You're like, okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, got it. But you came out with different thoughts from all the worlds that you experienced.
Yeah.
And, you have to be very brave to be in different environments all the time. People like to stay in their comfort zone. They like to live in their comfort space. Absolutely. And anything that doesn't make them comfortable, well, that's not for me. And we don't want to talk about that.
Right.
And now I think for the first time in a long time, we're able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's refreshing to me.
Yeah. I wrote an essay about this not too long ago. I called it the free speech fire hose, just because it was really Elon Musk kind of did it. Like, I don't know where we'd be if that didn't happen. But there's this pipeline of information where people get everything, all the stuff that they weren't, the stuff that I was seeing. That's what I'm like jaded about. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I saw that. But that stuff was like in channels of hated people underneath, and now that's all coming to the surface. And so regular people are having to interact with that information, and try and go through the cycles that I had to go through of like, well, what's true and what's not, and what's just these two things are both bullshit. Like both sides of these are wrong. Yeah. So you have to, it takes a while to work through all that. I mean, it took me, basically 8-10 years to work through some things and figure out where I'm at. And, and certain things I still don't know, or I thought I knew and now I don't, so, but you really, it's interesting watching society work through these ideas kind of at high speed because they have access to everything now. And so, I did it because I guess I'm ornery, and I've always been like, if I'm not supposed to go somewhere, then I'll do it. Yeah. If I'm not supposed to do something, then I'll do it. That's just in my nature. It always has been. So I was like, the first time they invited me to a white nationalist conversation, I was like, I don't even know what these people are, but and I had very little experience, but I'm like, I guess I go. I hope I don't get like rolled up and put in the trunk, but I guess I'll go. And then you go and they're all nerds. Yeah. You're like, so it's like a different thing. It's like, it's cool to go into kind of the edge of these different scenes and these different worlds and get a little sense of them. Yeah. So, I mean, we do this in the military, the Department of Defense. We do information, what's called special compartmentalized information classification. So SCI. So I had a top secret SCI clearance, right? And they would read me into programs that were specific to my mission. And I got read into a lot. And every time I get read into something, I'd be like, I've heard that differently over here when I was read into this. Yeah. And it's weird because, like you said, whenever you get exposure or you get invited to a new room, I don't say no. Like, you can invite me, I'll come listen to whatever you got to say, and then I'll judge whether or not it's nonsense or whether it's partially, but there's a little bit of truth in everything, man. Yeah. And finding that truth, it takes somebody to actually make that first step. And a lot of people don't do that. And that's why I think authors are the last frontier when it comes to like true knowledge. You're going to get it out of books, man, and podcasts. I spoke at TED last year in Atlanta about how podcasts are the new book. Because right now, what we're doing right now, it's content that's going to live forever, right? Yeah, yeah. And it's going to have relevance to people, who knows how long from now. But where I see you right now is you're still journeying and you're still figuring out new things. Can you share with us some of the things you pulled away from your recent trip? Because I know you went to some amazing coliseums. And you saw some amazing art. Can you talk to us about that? Yeah, well, like I said, most of what I write about now, I have a group called the Order of Fire, which is I kind of created my own religion, which is a whole different topic. So a lot of what I do is interact with, like, say, we have a figure called the Striker, which is something that I use to combine all the kind of warrior hero myths. And so I'm kind of interested in all of them. And so, yeah, I went to Athens a few years ago. I'm also interested in philosophy, and that's kind of where philosophy is.
Yeah.
And so you get to see where all this happened.
Yes.
And so that's really, really exciting. I feel like going to the Acropolis was a religious experience, even though you do it with 1,000 people and they're all like Chinese tourists and whatever. And the same thing with the Colosseum. You heard it in with thousands of people. But I actually weirdly left Rome with the feeling that I need to go back and that I don't understand it well enough, which was strange because I felt like Athens, I'm like, I would live here. I love this place. This is my favorite city I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. But I feel like I have more of a handle on it. Whereas ancient Roman religion specifically was so complex. And I feel like I just have a scratched surface on it. Yeah. And so, but there's so many more places to go to, and there's so much more there. I went to the main places. I had things I want to see. And so, I made a video for YouTube about the Pantheon. Mm-hmm. I spent like a lot of time there. But yeah, I really didn't get Rome until I was in the Capitoline Museum overlooking the kind of the whole forum. And you see, okay, well, rich people lived up on the hill.
Yeah.
And then, okay, well, that makes sense. And then there's Vestal Virgins over there. Colosseum's way in the background. That was late anyway. And then, okay, this is where they did all the political business, whatever. And I'm up here where the Temple of Jupiter was.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I see how this all works now. And so it kind of, that's the cool thing about traveling those places. I mean, like I said, you do feel like a tourist. And, you're there taking pictures like everybody else. But you do get a sense of maybe something you heard about in a podcast or read about in a book that like, oh, okay, this is a real thing. It's weird that you can go into, which I didn't know, it's weird that you can go into the actual Senate building that still exists.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I was in it and I didn't even know what it was because they had like some art exhibits in it, whatever.
Sure.
And if you would have told me that was an American storage building from like 1890s, I would have believed it. It's like really tall.
Yeah.
And like, obviously the roof's been redone and some things like that, but it's the original structure.
Was it domed?
No.
Wow.
No, it literally just looks like a storage building from the 1890s. It's like just this brick building. I guess it probably had marble on it on the front at some point, but it's a brick base. And then it's like it's about 3 stories tall. And it has like a, regular like sloped roof.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's where the Senate met. I mean, it was started, I think, by Caesar. That building was built by Caesar.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's wild that that's still there. So it gives you the sense of history that you get out of traveling to places like that is if you're interested in it. I feel like you see a lot of people when they just are there to snap the pictures and like, this is the thing I'm supposed to see. But like I did like a whole, like one of the great courses online about the history of Rome before I went. I did like a whole bunch of reading beforehand so I could really pull something out of it.
Yeah. Well, you wrote about the history of the Roman civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, I mean, I'll spoiler alert, but I'll plug the book too, is criminal. It's a criminal civilization that, like you say in a lot of your books, it doesn't matter who you are. Whenever you start to band together as men, you come up with your own what is right and what is wrong, and society then develops from that. And Romans did a great job at that.
Yeah, they're arguably one of the best.
Yes.
Yeah, they had their own way of doing things for a very long time.
Yeah, but they structured everything.
Very structured.
And so it's hard to like go into that structure, not understanding how it was in the time,
but
then realizing, holy crap, I'm in this building that doesn't look like what I thought it would look like.
Right.
Like I went to the birthplace of Jesus, right, in Bethlehem.
Right.
It's a cave.
Yeah.
And it's not like what America projects.
Right.
So I'm like, what? This is it? This little hole right here?
Yeah.
This is it? This is not what I was told it was supposed to look like. So like whenever you experience it for the first time, like when I went to the Colosseum, because I was on the presidential envoy, they brought us down to where the gladiators go. Right. Which is all blocked off to the public, except for you. You went to another Colosseum where they actually let you out on the grounds, right?
No. I mean, you can do the underground tour of the Colosseum, but it's a different ticket, and I didn't get that in time. Okay. But it's no, I don't think so. No. So we went. I love hiring historians. So the historian brought us down there and said, "This is where we used to keep, where they used, not us, but where they used to keep the lions or not." Like, I was like,
dude, man, this would be a trip.
Yeah.
It's just, I want to spend more time there.
Yeah.
Because, understanding that kind of stuff, it gives you a greater understanding of like, what are we really doing here, man?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about. All right. So let me go into the art part of you.
Okay. Yeah.
So I notice a lot of your content is cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
You spend a lot of time on emphasizing the things that you're pointing out to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like strength is not just something that you portray as like I don't walk around like a big guy.
Right.
You actually are lifting heavy weights. You're picking heavy weights up and putting them down.
Yeah.
Which is that's better than just the display. You look strong.
Yeah.
It's showing strength, but strength for a purpose.
Yeah.
That all ties into art, man. And how did you get into that whole world where you're like, okay, what I'm doing is an art, and I need to display that to the world. Mm-hmm. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah. Well, I went to art school.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've always done. I mean, I've been taking self-portraits of myself before there was ever an Instagram. I did it on film in like 1990s. So I've been doing this for a long time, and it's this kind of a weird evolution of my own work in a sense that I've always been doing this, and I've kind of been the main character in the thing for a long time. But, people have this idea about art, and it's a very 20th century idea that art is kind of this like girly thing or communist thing, because that's what it kind of became.
Yeah.
Our art schools became kind of a breeding ground for that.
Yeah.
But that it's all about being sensitive and whatever. And really, if you look at Rome or look at the ancient world, what is poetry? People talk about poetry like it's just some like Sylvia Plath crap. And no, poetry is stories about men making war. I mean, that's the Iliad and the Odyssey, and that's how they communicated all that. So I think it's actually more historically consistent for men to be actually interested in art. And this idea in America that men aren't supposed to be interested in beauty. Well, we just think different things are beautiful. Where it's not about making lace on your curtains. It's about strength and power and these big structures. I
don't like the word beauty.
Yeah.
I think desirable is a better description of what men are looking at. And I like the content that you're putting out is very desirable, and it's proven through the content, the likes and the comments. And I appreciate that. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. It's not feminine.
No, you can
be
see
an artist.
You can see without a Homer, there's no Achilles.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, Achilles existed, but you wouldn't know his name.
Without Homer, there would be no mentors.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that role is important. And I think that we can reincorporate that back into a society that wants to be healthy, and a society that wants to be strong, and a healthy society that wants things to be, I like the word beautiful, but our like I said, beautiful is not flower arranging.
Yeah.
Beautiful could be, like I said, I went and saw my favorite statue of Hercules. That's a different thing.
That was an epic photo, by the way.
Thank you.
We're going to post that up.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's I think what we can look for, like the execution of strength. What does that look like? And I would just like to see more of that. And so what I'm doing with now playing with cameras and cinematography and things like that, because we have the access to so many things now. I mean, when I was doing this, when I was in high school or whatever, I was getting, the hot lights from Home Depot and using them to light things in my parents' garage. And now it's like regular lights, no problem. LED lights, no problem. I mean, it's all cheap on Amazon. You can do so many things. And there's all these tutorials on YouTube and everywhere else showing you how to do it. And so
it's amazing.
You can make things beautiful. And to capture, I think, because I understand the poetry of, say, lifting heavy, or the poetry of combat or something like that. I understand what the narrative is. And so for me to be able to portray that, show that it's a beautiful thing, in the most masculine way, I think is a really cool challenge. And so I'm looking forward to doing more of that.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't like the word beauty because people normally associate it with a feminine trait.
For sure.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because that is something to behold. Now, here's what a lot
Now
of
you made me
people,
want to look it up. Now I want to look it up now because
look up the word.
well, because I'm the biggest nerd for this. This is my favorite thing to do in the world. I didn't realize this until a friend said it a few years ago. He's like basically all of your whole work is about defining words. Like about drilling down on words and figure out what they mean. Like, what does masculinity mean?
I got a phone.
Yeah. Oh, there
Let's
you
look it up right now.
Yeah, I'm like, well, what's the root and where does it come from and what's the Proto-Indo-European? It's like, what language is it from?
You did a good job with it too.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah, I'm interested now. Because that one I don't know. Some of them are very disappointing, like noble.
Yeah.
It really just means famous.
Yeah.
Like in ancient Rome, it's like the noble families, the aristocrats or whatever. You want it to mean all these other things. And that's kind of the root of it. But
So
what do you got?
beautiful, according to the dictionary, says pleasing the senses or mind aesthetically.
Okay.
So, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Attractive and pretty are your similar words.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
Pretty, definitely not okay.
Right?
Yeah, pretty would be what you say beautiful is to me.
Yeah.
Like pretty is. Yeah.
Well, their example is feminine.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and this is the whole cultural shift of like who controls the narrative. But the example is she spoke in beautiful English.
Right. Yeah. I usually do that. Wikipedia is garbage, but like, because I'm in it, but Wiktionary is gold. And I'll drill down to what the whole etymology of the whole word is. Like, where did it come from? Mm-hmm. And like, what did it mean originally? Because the way we see words now is, whatever the way they were used in a TV show or something like that, like in the last 50 years. But like, what has it always meant? And so but yeah, something aesthetically pleasing, I think, is a good.
Yeah, aesthetically.
Yeah. And I think that's the kids today like the word aesthetics.
Yeah. Bodybuilders like aesthetics. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can see it, and I've had bodybuilders on the show before with their display of strength and talk about steroids and all the stuff. Yeah. But the whole thing aesthetic, yeah, I like that. That may be the word I go to now that you made me look it up.
Yeah. That's my jam. That's what that's why it takes me so long to write everything. I'll like use a word. I'm like, I don't actually know what this means. I'm just like pulling it out of my ass. Yeah. Maybe it means something else. And then sometimes you'll find there's always something good that comes out of that.
Yeah.
Like you know something a little bit better.
The origin, I think I've talked to you about Dave Grossman. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman wrote this book called On Killing.
Right.
And he talks about like the psychology of why people go and buy their food at the market and don't think about killing anymore when it's a basic human necessity. Yeah. So there's a lot to words and what they mean.
Absolutely. The rules are, this is my actual nerdy area at this point, is that whenever you create a word, you're making a rule. Yeah. You're saying this is, because you're excluding something else, because this is this, therefore is not that or the other thing. And so you're making a rule about a thing. And this is what this actually describes. And if you change the word, you change the rule. Wow. Yeah. If you change the meaning, you change the rule. So that's how that's what has become so insidious you see this used in language, the way they change words and like masculinity isn't really this, it's that, or like they'll redefine things. There was this big push for a long time, like we need to redefine masculinity, and the same thing they do with like say superheroes, like we're going to take this superhero and make it a different thing now. You're rewriting myths. And words basically are all kind of myths in a way. They describe a thing that you can't really describe. They're like an approximation of a thing. And so they all have spin and frame to them.
They sure do. Mm-hmm. I like what you said with Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood's taken all, like The Matrix. Right. The Matrix was a man, separating himself from a world that everyone knows about, right? And he becomes the savior. He's the hero. Right. And then they redo it. And now a woman saving that man. Right. It's like, come on, bro.
Yeah. Because they know that myths are more powerful than and I think this is exciting about something that's happening right now in the world is that culture is becoming slightly less didactic in the sense that there was this threshold of like salespeople telling us what to do. I think in the last from 2020 to like maybe 2023. Yeah. Like you just had a salespeople like, what you got to do is this. And like we were all just inundated with it. Now I think people like vibes a little bit more. Yeah. And they're moving toward a little bit more towards vibes. And really, people receive a lot of their wisdom through myths. And so it's like we can talk about Luke Skywalker and you and I both know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's, like I can give examples like in The Way of Men, I use Darth Vader as an example. Yeah. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. We have these common myths that we can pull from that communicate something very specific without being direct.
Yeah.
That means something very special to people, but it's not somebody telling you what to do.
Yeah.
So I think myths are kind of a backdoor, and unfortunately, like the left understood that before the right did, and they can use myth like, well, we'll just change the story, and so that is very powerful, and they're trying to do it, but when it diverges so much from human nature, and that's the thing. Well, no one really believes that the little girl fought off like 35 men, even if she did have superpowers. It still seems weird, and also like there aren't as many girls who actually even want to do that. Like and like this is outside of human nature at a certain point, and so it doesn't hit right. And so those movies a lot of times don't actually even do well because they're not really giving people what they want. They want something that's connected to reality and the physical reality of life.
Well, I like that. So like if you look at Viking culture, they look at the Vikings that were buried, and you can tell the difference between a male and a female skull by the little bump in the back of the head.
Yeah.
So they found like warriors that were buried,
right,
and they looked for that bump, and those bumps didn't exist, and then my question is, well, who put them in there? Like, was that actually a warrior, or was that the warrior's wife?
Right.
Like there's just so many questions that get asked that or there's questions that don't get asked. There's just assumptions.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a narrative they're trying to push on the
exactly.
I mean, like I think the kind of examples that you're talking about is basically like people are actually really good at identifying the gender of skulls.
Oh yeah,
and the gender of skeletons. That's a done deal.
That is definitely.
And so what they'll find is a female skeleton with a sword, and they'll be like, "See, there were shield maidens." And it's like, is that really true?
Yeah.
Or like, did someone give her that sword? Or is that the sword of her husband that she wanted to be buried with? Like you don't know any of those things, and so much of that kind of archaeology and so forth is just interpretive. Let's make it what we want it to be.
Yeah.
And so that's really dangerous in about reading into the past in that way.
It is, man.
Yeah.
But that, again, back to where you're like, I want to go back.
Yeah.
I do too. Cause I want to see my own assumptions being proven or disproven.
Yeah.
But in either case, man, we're going to continue following you.
Cool.
We love your work, man. We do. Keep doing what you do. For those who don't know, what's the best way to follow you?
Well, you're on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel right now. That's where I've been doing more talking. Lately, I've been making some videos.
What's the channel name?
It's Jack Donovan. If you just look up Jack Donovan, you'll find me. And same thing. My Instagram is Start the World. On Instagram is Start the World. Jack-Donovan.com is my main website, but no one uses websites anymore. But all my books are available on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw that. So you don't have any other place where people can get signed books?
I need to do that again. I need to set that.
Right?
I need to pull it. I basically need to transfer inventory from the old Shopify store to the new Shopify store. But I mean, the signed books. I need to start doing that again.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so if someone wants to reach out to you, have the opportunity to have you at one of their events and speak about these things,
right?
How would they do that?
Instagram's probably the fastest way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So that's you.
Yep.
It's not somebody that is your.
No, I wish I could afford someone to do that.
It's not that expensive.
I hate being on that.
Let's talk. So okay. Yeah. Thanks again for coming in. I got something for you.
Cool.
This is something that I don't give to too many people, but it's a tactical tool. It has a pen. It has a Coke bottle opener. That's the proper way, I guess you're saying. This is to clean out your technical stuff whenever you have like fuzz from your phone or anything like that. Because technical stuff is in there. A screwdriver on this side, pen on the other side. What's really cool about this, though, is it's airport safe and it becomes a glass breaker or a skull breaker.
Nice.
So fits well in your hand.
Nice.
Had these custom made.
Cool.
By the Wounded Warrior organization that supports the show. So,
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say thank you and give you that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Anything else you want to share with the audience?
Oh, no, that's about it. Yeah, I'm good. All right.
Thanks again for coming in.
All right. Thank you.
If you're watching the show, we are a top 10% show because of you on YouTube. And we're going to get to that top 1% really soon. So share this with your friends. Follow Jack Donovan. And until the next time, stay on target. Stay with us as we stay on target with another awesome episode coming up next. We'll see you there. And subscribe to Targeted Now. As an ambassador to buckedup.com, I get to give you our special discount. That's Atlas25 when you go to buckedup.com to get that special discount. Only for our listeners, Atlas25. Go to buckedup.com now. This is Atlas Aultman. I am sitting here with my computer doing the final edits. My dog's just chilling out, and I'm looking for a fight scrub commercial. And instead of just finding one, I'm just going to tell you my thoughts on it because, hey, it's late, and why not listen to me since it's my show? This is something I found through a gym that I go to, and the guy who owns it, the guy who was on my show, is he's an amazing guy, and he tells a story on the show. But where this is a natural product. It is a clean product, not chemicals, and it helps you with anything that you do that you need to sanitize. So for me in MMA, when I'm doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I can do into my really old age, when I'm broken, I can do Jiu-Jitsu and I'll keep doing it. I get really sweaty, and then I don't want to smell like other dudes when I come home and see the family and see my dog and all that. So I spray this stuff on me. I get in a car. My car doesn't smell bad, but then I feel cleaner. I'm not going to get any skin infections. It's an amazing product. It has different flavors of flavors. It's got different smells, but you can put it on your skin. You can spray it all over your clothes. You can spray it all over your gis. You can throw it in your gym bags. It's awesome. But if you play football and you have pads, it's awesome for that. Muay Thai, whenever I do Muay Thai or boxing, I take my boxing gloves off. I spray the crap out of it. It's a good thing to have. If you're using Clorox or whatever, this is a great alternative. I've been using it for a while. Highly recommend it. There's a link in my bio if you want a discount. Please use my link. I do this for people so that they can get the products that I use. This is one of them. Check it out. Fight Scrub. Check it out.